Well, joining me is the Member of Parliament for Orpington. First time on the show, Gareth Bacon, welcome.
Thank you.
You, of course, were backing Badenoch, and you are one of the anti-woke MPs, I think is how I would describe you. But you've switched your support in the last few days to Liz Truss. Main reason?
I sat back and listened to what Liz was saying. I listened to Rishi as well. After Kemi was eliminated for the final round of MP ballots, I voted for Liz. And then I spent the next sort of 10 or 11 days listening to both candidates. And to be honest, Liz is espousing more of what I personally believe in than Rishi. I mean, I think Rishi is a very capable candidate, a very good man. But Liz is more in tune with what I personally believe, so I decided that I'd be voting for her.
And perhaps on some of these energy bills, she might be saying some of the right things.
Well, yeah, her initial offer is that she's going to suspend green levies for 12 months. There's going to be an emergency budget as soon as she gets elected, and that's going to look at a whole sweep of things. She has said on things like our environmental policies, she's going to examine those with fresh eyes and see what might be possible.
Well,
and I think that's a step in the right direction.
You see, I mean, one of the things that is a problem here is we've got the Prime Minister in Slovenia, we've got the Chancellor of the Exchequer in an unknown location, there's nobody in charge of the rudder. At the very moment when the Governor of the Bank of England says we're going into a 15-month recession, when things are worsening, when there is now a campaign of, and I'm not encouraging it, by the way, but there's a campaign of civil disobedience up and running, saying, we're just not going to pay our bills come the autumn. And we're normally a very law-abiding country, but I'm concerned that things might get out of control. We can't wait till the 5th of September. I just criticised Gordon Brown in terms of saying massive benefit increases. You know, he can't fund it, he won't discuss net zero. But is he right? Should we really wait until the middle of September to get some government addressing a problem? Because, you know, by the time you get that new budget through and the new Prime Minister in place, we may well be right in the middle of this problem as the bills land in October. I mean, your party is not going to be forgiven if it seemed to be asleep at the wheel. Well,
the fact that the Prime Minister was out of the country doesn't mean the government stops, of course, and nor does it mean that if the Chancellor is out of the country as well. So government has been, right across Whitehall, have been working on options for the new Prime Minister, whoever that may be, that they can select from. So I'm the Parliamentary Private Secretary to the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Kit Morehouse, and he's had his shoulder to the wheel right through the last few weeks since he was appointed, working up options in the Cabinet Office that any new incoming Prime Minister could take a look at. So the Prime Minister himself is back in the country. I was listening to an interview with Kit Morehouse in the car on the way over here, and while he was on air, the Prime Minister was texting him or tried to phone him. So they were picking up afterwards.
Should we wait for an emergency budget, or is Gordon Brown right to say that Parliament should be recalled given what we face?
Well, there's no point in recalling Parliament unless you have a budget to talk about. And a lot of preparatory work has to go into that. You can't knock these things up on the back of an envelope. So, of course, I mean, the work is going on in Whitehall now. Of course, there needs to be a new government, and then there'll be an emergency budget.
Thoughts about the clips that you've seen today and the newspaper headlines yesterday? Now a huge number of young Albanian men, they're all men, all young men, coming in from Albania. There's no ECHR problem here because we absolutely know they don't qualify for refugee status in anywhere at all. We've got 1,500 in our prisons at the moment. Do you think Liz Truss will deal with this?
Yes, I mean, what we're describing is illegal immigration.
Yes, absolutely.
The whole boat problem coming across the channel over the last 2 years has been illegal immigration. There are safe routes into this country legally, and these people are abusing it, and it's people smugglers that are doing it.
But the government have done nothing.
Well, the government have done quite a lot.
Well,
actually.
they failed.
Not yet, they haven't.
Hang on a second. 28,500 people across the English Channel last year, Gareth, in small boats, despite Priti Patel promising us over and over and over that she had the solution. People are pretty angry about this. What I'm saying to you is, Boris was always soft on this. He was always soft on immigration. And when it came to Brexit, and you were a Brexiteer too, as I was, you know, many of us wanted ECHR dealt with at the same time. It wasn't. I'm asking you, you know, Liz Truss is favourite to win. You've backed her. I don't see any evidence she's going to grip this.
Well, what Liz Truss has said that she would do, so firstly we'll talk about what Priti Patel has done, and then we'll talk about what Liz Truss will do to build on that. So Priti Patel's got the Nationality and Borders Bill through Parliament. Now, that is no small thing. She was fought every step of the way by the Labour Party, by the Liberal Democrats, by the Scottish National Party, by the Green Party.
And the BBC.
And the BBC and much of the mainstream media, let's be honest about that. And we had to vote again and again and again in the House of Commons. I recall one day we had 14 separate votes to reject amendments that come from the House of Lords, the unelected House of Lords, which are trying to overturn much of the central thrust. We got that bill through Parliament, and then it was challenged in the courts, and our courts upheld the government's right. What the government have done is perfectly legal. And then we had a last minute, literally an 11th hour intervention from the European Court of Human Rights. Now, we can query that. We can argue constitutionally whether or not they should have been able to do that. But what Liz has said that she would do if she gets elected is there's a Bill of Rights about to go through Parliament, a British Bill of Rights,
I know
which will strengthen that. Hang on, Nigel.
It doesn't take away the supremacy of the European Court.
And if that proves to be the case, if we can't legislate for that, if we can't do something that will be acceptable to European Court of Rights, then we would put it in the manifesto at the next general election. The British people have their say. Do you want to leave the European Court of Human Rights? And if the British people want to do that, that is exactly what will happen.
What, another referendum?
No, we'll just leave. Because the government would have the power to do that. And if we've had a general election and the British people have said they've given the Conservative Party a mandate to do it, then we can do that.
No, I get that. I just worry, for the sake of your party, that people will have run out of road by then and lost faith, and that's the problem, I think.
The thing I would say to that, Nigel, is that my party is trying to solve the solution. What are the other parties doing?
Oh, I'm not suggesting Labour will be any better. Not for one moment. Gareth Bacon, thank you very much indeed for joining us.